Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 in red. Guess what? You're not missing the fast start. So characteristic, almost a Kermesse-style start out from the kick here. This has been shredded apart. It has been broken apart. It's worse than dropping your waffle on the floor and it breaking into crumbs. We are seeing a big destruction of the leading pack in Category 1.
Look at that. And it's Dawson pushing at the front at the moment. So Dawson lighting up this Category 2 race and really putting the hammer down.
Really provoking some aggressive racing. I think we're going to see riders with some massive numbers at the end of this. There's going to be a lot of people feeling this for a long time.
Well, the question is, who's going to blow in the final stages?
Yeah.
This is a great tactic. You put X100 out front on this long flat section between these two bergs. And, well, everyone's got a chase. People would be thinking this is the recovery section. This is not the recovery section for the UAE clan team. This is the section where the UAE clan team attack everybody else. Montoya's pushed early. Castano is going after him. So is Carvajal. Valles now, I think, is out of it, and so is Dadson. I think this is 3 riders as Montoya is the rider pushing. Castano isn't going to make it. Montoya, I think, is going to take the win.
Hi. Hello and welcome. Good day, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. We are here. It's MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club Qualifier Race number 3. My name is Matt Payne. I'm here in the studio with Emma Martin. I'm having a nice calm start today because I think that's going to be reflected in our racing. Emma.
Well, I don't think I've ever heard Matt start a show so quiet and calm. I think we're going to ramp up to the finish. My name's Emma Martin. I am here in the studio with Matt Payne, and we are here for Qualifier Race number 3 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's the 17th of September.
Now, we were in Belgium last week for the men. We were in Belgium earlier on today for the women. It was absolutely manic, and in part, I'm just resting ready for the course because today we have a steady start. We followed that with the Aquarium climb and the Jebel Yais climb, Emma. There's a lot of climbing, but it's all in basically what is essentially 16, 17 kilometres of the race route.
Yeah, it is indeed. So 45 kilometres of racing, 997 metres of climbing, 857 metres of that comes in our 2 categorised climbs today. The first one of those is a Category 4 climb. It's 3.3 kilometres with an average gradient of just 3%. But then we are heading up the Jebel Yais, 13.5 kilometres of climbing with an average gradient of 6%. The checkered flag is 500 metres after the hill climb segment banner end. And then we will see who is at the top.
We will. And I think it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very different to last week, without any shadow of doubt. We still have our sprints, our 5 sprints on the way through, which are there. There's the sprint skin suit. We've got the polka dot skin suit for all of our categories. However, the prizes are all about being the first over the line.
Well, they are indeed. And first over the line last time in qualifier race number 1 in August when we were here was Michael Knudsen in Category 1, 1 hour and 18 minutes. Castano Acevedo, who took the win in Category 4, 1 hour and 40 minutes, but he's in Category 3 now.
Well, let's see whether our Category 4 riders are going to be able to get themselves up on to the top. So no teams at the moment because we're still on our qualifiers. That comes into play when we go into our finals next week. It's a huge field, 46 riders.
46 riders on the start sheets. Burnett is here, Kaluma, Zanaska, Allport, McMurtry, Valles, who's been riding really well this month. So is Francis. Dadson has had 2 top 5s as well, with a whole host of other riders, including our renowned fast starter, Renato Sartorio Ramos.
You love saying that name, don't you? It's probably a good job because he sets off like an absolute rocket time and time again.
He does indeed. We're in with Efren Mamba at the moment, down in the start pen, and away go Category 4, the first group away on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club for the final qualifier in September. So up and out of the start pens cleanly go our large pack of Category 4 riders, 46 riders on the start sheets today. And it's Cronje who is kicking it from the start. John Back is going as well. Now, Matt, Category 4 always in the men's race seemed to be one of the fastest starting packs.
Such youthful exuberance. It's what it's like. It's like watching group of junior riders head up from the start of a road race. But there is a reason, and I think in part it's because when you're in Category 4, you have to make sure you use that energy wisely. You don't want to have to chase because you know that there's a whole load of riders behind that are going to be chasing on. And that is really, really difficult. That does make life really, really tough for riders who don't come out. And it is also a way to potentially distance people. Let's face it, there's a chance that you could catch somebody napping, and every rider that you leave behind is a rider who's not going to be fighting you for those prizes at the finish.
Well, being leader on the road for the longest time possible before the catch is made, or if the catch is never made, absolutely one of the key motivations of Category 4 as well. So Orego is there, Coking is in the mix, so is Back, so is Butt, so is Lloyd. Those riders moving and pushing in the front part of this group. We've got a couple of riders just distanced off the back on the other side of the roundabout, but just 1 or 2 at the moment.
So this is the importance of being right in there. You've got to be in it to win it. You've got to be in the fight. And remember, of course, racing for most people is about the racing. It's not about the prizes. It's not about the prize money. It's not about the top 5 because it's a big race field and it's all part of that racing, knowing how you're getting on against people. Don't forget, all the results are on the MyWhoosh.com website across all of our categories, and they are all eventually verified once we've got all those performances in.
Yeah, and you don't need to be at the front of the field to enjoy your racing.
No.
46 riders on the start sheets today. Week in, week out, people are going to be racing their other competitors in this race field and just seeing whether you're 34th, 35th, 28th. Can you make a top 15? Different people, different goals, same race.
And we're seeing some of the riders who have some very substantial goals at the front. Brett McMurtry, Luke Allport, Scott Francis, right up there. Andres Ladano, John Back, Ian Lloyd. Very, very much the riders who we expected to be there. We always get new riders. Now, Emma, like you would expect, because we do our homework, Emma was running through all of the names, as we always do, just checking out some of the names. My favourite, Edelson Casagrande.
Well,
Edelson, you've got a fantastic name.
The name is superb, and can Casagrande be at the top? Can he take the win? He's up there putting the effort in and creating the action early on in this Category 4 race.
So remember, Category 4 set off 5 minutes in front of Category 3. We have 10 minutes between Categories 3 and 2, and then it is 5 minutes between 2 and 1. Categories 3 and 4 will see each other. Categories 1 and 2 will see each other on the course if they are at the same point in the race route. But the two pairs of categories will not end up mixing together. It's just quite literally because of the volume of riders, and it's great to see so many people jumping on board and riding with us here on MyWhoosh. The riders here in Arabia heading in to town, slight rise up here as we come up towards the mosque before we're going to take the left-hand turn around back in towards the more modern architecture. Whether it's quite splendid as mosque, I'm not so sure, but it is an absolutely stunning sight, having been able to see this out in real life. I have to say it's absolutely astounding to be out there and to see the development. Now, let's see if our riders can stand in Category 3. They're on the start line. They're ready to roll. Category 3, another big race field. Almost equal race fields across all of our categories here. We have the Colombian Andean team of Arrego, Pulgarin, Castro, as well as Araya. However, they are going to be up against a real cast of characters. 45 on the start list.
Yeah, there are indeed 45 riders on the start list today. Ekasi is here, Diducci is here, Stretting is here, Demanu and Neville Ross, who's been going well. So as Dromard and Aaron Nogueira is here as well. And of course, the rider we were talking about who won the Category 4 race in Qualifier 1 in August, Acevedo.
So here we go. This is the start of Category 3. Away they go here on Qualifier 3. Who will be our top 3? Not long to find out. The riders up and away from the pens, across the boardwalk, through past the vegetation heading in towards town. Florian Dromard, a rider who is so strong during the MyWhoosh Championships, the $1 million prize fund championships. He's a rider who we know we've got to keep an eye on, but will he be able to climb that final hill fast enough? Going to be a tough one.
Well, we're seeing another fast start off the front of this race, and I think as these race fields are growing, the starts are getting faster. The whittling down of those race fields happening earlier as we see Cadiz. Kirk is in there as well, right at the front of this race. So Daniel Cadiz really putting the power down, 4.7 watts per kilo at the moment. Ben Kirk is the rider following through. This 2 riders just off the front of this group, and this group now really strung out down the road.
So this group making its way down the road, very aware, lots of you listening will not be people for whom English is the first language. If you are watching and English is your second language, thank you very much for bearing with us. We try to keep it into language everybody will understand. It doesn't always work, and it's probably about time we did a very quick explanation of some of our terms. One is whittling. We haven't done this for a while. To whittle something down is essentially to sculpt something from a piece of wood. So you take a piece of wood and you would take away a little piece of wood, maybe with a craft knife or some kind of instrument, to sculpt, to create a finished article. So that could be a little sculpture, maybe of a bear, it could be a sculpture of a tree, it could be just your name. But you whittle the piece of wood down by chipping small pieces off until you're left with what you want. And that is what we're referring to. It's the way of making the pack move, being instrumental in changing the shape of it from being a mass of riders, the initial bulk,
to the size of the group that you want.
To the size of group and the shape of the group that you want, giving you that finished article. And that whittling down, that chipping off of small pieces, rider at a time, is what we refer to.
Now, if you need any other terms explaining from the commentary on the Sunday Race Club, please feel free to get in touch. You can get in touch with Matt at MattFixAPain on all social media platforms. You can get in touch with me at Viking Emma, and of course you can get in touch with MyWhoosh. You can head over to the MyWhoosh website or on all social media platforms, on Facebook, on X, formerly known as Twitter, and on Instagram as well.
So please do get in touch, subscribe, let us know what you're up to. Please do let us know, a quick plea from the women's race as well. Please do let us know if you have a pain cave in a windmill. If you want to know any other information about that statement, you have to watch the women's race. It was an absolute classic. It was frantic, it was nervous, and it was a classic. So
I do love Belgium.
Please do give it a watch. It was an absolute blinder of a race, just like the men's was last week. We're looking forward to more action as well. Don't forget, of course, that our riders are racing for some very substantial prizes in not just the qualifiers, in the finals. So as you can see, Luke Allport already making a bid to break that group down as they head into the descent on the right hand side of your screen. He will be looking to take away top spot in category 4. It's Bulgarian that we're featuring currently at the moment on the left of your screen in category 3. But these riders know that they can't leave these groups this size. They do indeed have to whittle the groups down to 5 if they want to be guaranteed to be in those prizes once they get over the line. They have to be verified, so all rides are subject to verification. And as you can see, if Luke Allport wants to take top spot, and he does so, then he will be taking away 2,160 AED right the way through to 5th place. If he's in the top 5, 432. As you can see in the finals, it's not just your individual classification, it's also the team classification. 10,800 AED down to 1,080 AED in the team's competition. 3 riders out of 5 to count. So guys, do need to make sure you get those teams sorted. Really, really important. Get them dialed in. Make sure you get those set up for the finals. Whether you're in category 4 or category 3, a step up, 3,600 AED for first, 720 for 5th, a step up in the team classification prizes as well, and another step up when we move from category 3 across to category 2, where we have 6,000 AED for the win down to 1,200, 30,000 AED for the team competition in category 2. Really competitive race, Phil, but big prize money as well. Not quite as big though as category 1. This is the top of the tree. Now, 50,000 AED for the team win. You can see why it is so fiercely fought out, with 5th place taking 5,000. That is next week, as well as the individual classification, which is in operation this week and next week. 2,000 for 5th, 4,000 for 4th, 6,000 for 3rd, 8,000 for 2nd, and 10,000 AED for 1st place. That is substantial. Now, as we say repeatedly, because we're here every week, we have riders out and around the globe. Emma and I regularly out looking for different people to feature their currency. So who have you got this week, Emma, and what have you got?
Well, I'm going for Hong Kong dollars this week.
Is that inspired by
It's inspired by the women's race, yes,
yeah.
Indeed. And whilst we watch Luke Allport continuing to push on the front of that category 4 pack, 10,000 AED, 21,311 Hong Kong dollars. What about you, Matt? What have you got?
Well, I thought I'd take some inspiration from the man with the great name at the start of the show, Edilson Casagrande from Brazil. So if Edilson can take himself to the top
currently
of the
in 9th
tree,
position,
make his way up from category 4 to 3 to 2 to 1, and then take away the win.
No,
it is possible. Eventually.
No pressure there.
Yeah, no pressure. If you do that, Edilson, I want to cut off the prize winning.
Honestly, no, just rephrase that, please.
No, I do, honestly, because if he does that, he will be an absolute superstar. But no, it is possible. We've seen riders move right the way through the categories as they progress. Edilson, if you were to win category 1, here's some inspiration for you. 10,000 UAE dirham is 13,250 Brazilian real.
There you go.
Brazilian real. I love the name Brazilian real. It's like it's real money. It's great, isn't it?
It
so,
is indeed.
There you go.
There are many other currencies around the world.
And there are many other conversion tables available, so don't blame me if I get it wrong 2 point whatever
well,
I said.
Not
there
getting it wrong at the moment is Neville Ross. Andrew Neville Ross. Well, he has threatened this, Matt, I think, watching him racing the last few weeks. Neville Ross is absolutely on the attack at the moment in category 3. He's got 14 seconds at the moment on the chasing group. They're coming up to 5 kilometres of this race now complete. They're coming up to just over 7.5 minutes of racing. And boy, Neville Ross has gone for it.
He has. It's almost a replication of what we saw in category 4 with Luke Allport going on the offensive. It's got more time, more gap, bigger gap, and it's on the way into the dip. These little dips and rises really are telling. They do affect the racing. I mean,
they do.
We got to remember, they are very, very quick, irrespective of what category you are in. Allport on the right-hand side, he's at 8.2k, 5.2k for Andrew Neville Ross on the left-hand side. The riders are motoring, and this dip and rise and the bumps, they do take the toll on the riders. I mean, we focus on the meters of the climb, but it's not always that, is it?
No, it's not. And we did say at the top of the show, only 140 metres of climbing outside of the 2 categorised climbs on today's route. However, the rolling nature of the parts of the train we can see Allport on, and indeed Neville Ross, do allow the opportunity for riders who are very tactically astute to push on and make the most of the race.
And that being tactically astute is key, whether you're in category 4, 3, 2 or 1. Our next group of riders away is the biggest race field actually of the day. It's our category 2 riders, and we have some real stars in here. We also have teams in here as well. Really interesting to see. As you go to category 2 and 1, the teams start building, and that is because they're getting the practice. Remember, if you're on MyWhoosh, you can talk to your teammates on the conversation. So the teams of Cafe de Colombia, the Cycling Parrots, the Hitmen, and the UAE Falcons, and a whole host of riders as well.
Oh, some phenomenal riders in those teams, from Angarita and Oviedo to Hernandez to Simeons, Graves, Spratt. But don't forget Winfield, Kranich, Quadrelli. Guarin has come up from category 3. Great to see. Kirchner is in here as well. Looking forward to some great racing from category 2 today. So we're in with Primero at the moment, down in the start pen. The riders about to go on the Sunday Race Club. So away go category 2 on qualifier race number 3 for September. We are in Arabia and they have 45 kilometers of racing in front of them, 997 meters of climbing. And well, most of that comes in the Jebel Yais. That is the last 14 kilometers of this race today.
And you can't leave it to those last 14k to make your move, I suspect, today, because there is going to be some action from the gun in our categories. Whereabouts on the course it is critical? Well, pretty much everywhere, because we know people like Henrik Oya, one of our real fast riders, always up for the race. Great to see Henrik Oya looking strong, really up for the racing today. One of the riders who does get in touch on social media, please do remember, at Matt Fixer Paint, at Biking Emma, across social media. Please do get in touch, let us know what you're up to. Another rider who does the same, Phil Graves, up here. Phil, of course, if there was an ever-present award for long service,
service to the Sunday Race Club,
racing on the Sunday Race Club, I think Phil Graves would be in the running for that. Not necessarily would be, definitely be in the running.
Well, Simmons, Graves, Spratt and Uys, part and parcel of the Hitmen, and they have been absolutely dominant in the last 2 months finals on the Sunday Race Club.
Do illuminate us.
My big question is, can anybody beat the Hitmen? So very regularly they are placing riders, more than one rider in the top 5. That is giving them the actual win. So in June, 3 of the Hitmen were in the final 5 in the men's race. In July, 1, 2 of them were in the top 5. In August, let's take a look. 1, 2, 3 of the Hitmen, they finished 2nd, 3rd and 4th. They took the team prize by 2 minutes 13 seconds. The question is, can Cafe de Colombia, the Cycling Parrots, or the UAE Falcons do anything about it next week? Can we see other teams put together in category 2 that can challenge the Hitmen? That is exactly what the riders need to be talking about this week going into Sunday.
Yeah, totally, 100%. And I have to say that the practice in the tactics, you know,
they are indeed practicing their tactics.
Yeah, too right.
They are showing their domination already.
You've got to. There's no point going into a race. It's one of those great phrases that for years I have loved to drill home to everybody from under 14s through to veterans masters racing, is do not try and do something in a race you have not practiced and trained beforehand. And that's true whether that's trying to jump over a double-decker bus, or whether it is going out on the attack, or whether it is working with your teammates and putting the attacks in. You really do need to make sure you can do it in practice. You've done it in training, you've practiced that all the way through before. You should never do it, ever do it when it's racing for the first time. That's just crazy. Why would you do that?
Well, that's it, isn't it? I mean, it goes as far, if anybody has read, and I'm not very sure many people would have done, but Nicole Cook's autobiography, Welsh female cyclist, phenomenal world-renowned cyclist. She talks in her autobiography about pre-riding the Olympics and really key races for her, understanding the terrain, and then going out and finding in a training location a route that nearly replicates the race route she's targeting, and actually utilising that in training.
And that's why it's so important to ride as well as race. On MyWhoosh, lots of great rides being put on by our teams, and that's increasing all the time. And that's true of categories 4, 3, 2 and category 1, who are lined up ready to go. We have our usual teams here in the shape of the Belgian Waffles, the Italian Gelato squad. We have the dominant UAE clan team, with the big target on the back for the team to try and knock off the top step of the perch. Will it be Wahoo Cole, who are sending more and more riders in? Great to see them with us. Chris Dawson and Kevin Horsley in there. But it's another big stacked field of riders.
Well, it is indeed. And Chris Dawson took his debut in Category 2 last week, moving into Category 1 this week. Vujasin, it was a sprint between him and Knudsen last week. Amazing finish. Van Elst, Harburg, Safrazad, Kaminski, Fawcett, Cutler, Van Haren, all here.
So let's see who's going to take top spot. The final race category to settle from our pens here in Arabia at Category 1. They're on the boardwalk. They're going to be heading for the roads around this amazing course, finishing up that ascent. And after 45 kilometers, ascending 997 meters, we're going to see who's going to take top spot in our competition here today. The final qualifier in September before we head into our finals next week.
Well, they are out of the start pen, and there's already a stretch on this group over the boardwalk. In fact, that stretch now showing two discrete groups. You can see on the graphic on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, two groups here being formed in this Category 1 race already. Well, it's Vidal Mayer on the front at the moment, pushing on. Limburn is in there too. So is the rotation of, well, SS has been sent up the front as well. He is there too. So is Kaminski, so is Van Elst, so is Vujasin. All the names we are expecting to see towards the latter stages of this race, making sure they're in the right side of the break early on.
And being in the right side of the break is so critical. You can't afford to let the gaps go, and that is in part, I think, nobody wants to be at the back. They all want to be right up there. Good to see Mohamed Al-Alami in here, looking strong, nicely tucked into this group. Good pedal revs there, cadence 81 revs per minute. Let's do a quick recap now that we're into Category 1 up and underway. Really key is information. Now, you were talking about Nicole Cook getting the pre-ride information. Now let's watch Mr. X100 and go through his data, what's shown on the screen, so we can see what's going on. So Mr. X100 is our featured rider. He's a rider who we're looking at the moment on the race peloton, in that peloton. Now 200 plus watts coming out, the number flashing from green to white in the center top of your screen. White when in the draft, sorry, white when in the wind, green in the draft. Directly below it is the watts per kilo. So I have to be very careful.
Yeah, to be careful there.
Get that the right way around. So it's white in the wind and it's green in the draft. It's the watts per kilo directly below, a key information point. Now, if I was riding alongside somebody, I would be able to look across and I would know whether they were a skinny climber or if they were a big sprinter. You get to know that. Well, guess what? You can't do that on an esports platform because you don't have a camera looking at all the rest of the riders. You just see their avatar. So the watts per kilo, really important. And I think anybody who's raced a bike in anger will know how important it is to know what your competition is doing. It's a key vital statistic of competition.
Can I just mention, you don't need to always race a bike in anger. You could race it in joy.
Racing a bike in anger makes me joyful.
Does it?
Yeah. Does that not make sense?
Well, I'll tell you something that's making me joyful at the moment, and that is seeing the action on the front of this Category 1 race pack.
So at the front, we're seeing Christian Montoya on the front. Really good illustrator of the watts. He's out on the front, 400 plus watts he's kicking out. He's been moving for 3 minutes already. That heart rate up to 151 beats per minute. Cadence right up there as well, really spinning up there, hitting nearly 100 revs per minute. You can see that's set to top of your screen. We move back to watch Stefan van Elst. You can see that he's also highlighted on the right-hand side of the screen in blue. That's the rider we're watching. You can see the red chevrons, the yellow chevrons as people respond and react. You can see the top right-hand side of your screen, the profile of the course. So you can see the riders just ascending up on the way towards the mosque at the moment. And you can see the work that's having to be done by these riders to try and chase down the rider in front, Villalmer, up the road, a solo rider. And you can also see that on the left-hand side of your screen. That is the satellite navigation. It's a bit like having radar on the front. So if you imagine flying a plane and you've got radar, it shows you where everybody is. It's amazing. A bit like you would see if you were racing outdoors or in a velodrome. You would see that there are people up the road. You would see there are people on the course. You take looks across the cyclocross course. That's the same thing. That's what you can do here. And you can see as we come around this bend that we have a solo leader. We have a second big chasing group. We have riders behind. It also tells you the speed on there. And that is really, really indicative. If we see speeds of 35, 40 kph uphill, we know that the pressure's on. If we see 45 kph downhill, we know they're not trying hard because we know they can hit 60, 70
I'll tell
kph.
you something who is trying hard at the moment, and that is Villalmer. And that stretch is going out even further. You know, last time I took a look, it was out at around 10 seconds. It's still hovering there at the moment. They are now really starting to get into the action to bring him back. And you can see that because you can see this group is not one tight blob all over the road. It's getting longer, it's stretching longer. The pace is up and the pace is high. But Montoya there putting 7 watts per kilo in at the front to bring back Mare because they really do not want to let him get away.
No, not at all. You cannot afford to let it go.
It's a sneaky move.
It's a great move by Villalmer. Really, really impressive. Now, we talk about moves being made and then responses coming. Really interesting to see that Villalmer is not the fastest rider through the sprint because he made his move before we got to the sprint. This is the first sprint. This is a snapshot at the moment. Jeppe Hansen of Denmark leading through. Immediately behind you can see it's Dont, Van Elst and Vu Justin, the 3 Belgians in 2nd, 3rd and 4th place. Interesting though that the top 2 are category 2 riders. Sad Carradine, another rider who's quick through the sprints. He is a rider who could well be in here. His countryman El Alami also nicely in the mix. Really interesting to see that mix of riders, and that is an illustration, isn't it, of what the sprints tell us. And there are points available as well.
There are indeed, and the cumulative points give us our overall winner in that sprint competition or the King of the Mountain competition. And jerseys are awarded, well, actually skin suits are awarded. So the full green skin suit and the polka dot skin suit being awarded to those with the highest number of points in that competition. It's not first across the line, it's the fastest time.
I know I'll be just sitting at the back of them sprinting like a loon.
We saw riders do that in the championships. You know.
Yeah. Now, okay, back to the action, because whilst we might talk about what we would want to do, the man who's making it happen at the moment is Villalmer, and he is eliciting a response from the pack. Michael Knudsen knows the danger of Villalmer. Mare is always a dangerous rider to let go. He's a very, very strong rider. He's got the gap at the moment, and Knudsen is having to squeeze on. He tried to get everybody moving and instigate a chase that was being done by a number of riders, and that's really, really critical.
Yeah, but look at this, Matt. They're coming up to Knudsen's side, and then they're coming off the pace, so they're digging at 5 watts per kilo, then sitting up to 3.5, and they're trying to take the pace off this chase group. They know if the UAE clan team bring Mare back, it is going to head towards the favour of the UAE clan team because, well, Knudsen won this race in qualifier race number 1 in August when we were on the Hebel race. It was indeed Knudsen and Popovic, the 1-2.
Says it all, doesn't it? It really does show you what they're up against. Now, really interesting. We are motoring our way at 8.2k. We are between sprints 2 and 3 on the course. If you cast back your mind to the profile, we are between the Silent Dune sprint and the Liwa Desert sprint, and the action is unfolding because we are going over what is an uncategorized climb. It is a bump in the road, but every single bump counts.
Look at the damage!
It is really, really pushing, and it is Mendakovic who has opened up the gap. He put the pressure on. The response has come from Spratt, Graves, Oyer, Volk, and Mayer. They closed him down. And now this is where, if they're smart, they could break clear maybe a group of 10 or 15 rather than dragging over 35, 40 riders.
And I think if you look at the bottom left-hand side of your screen and you're looking at that sort of satellite navigation or radar image that Matt was talking about earlier, you can see that this Category 2 field is starting to split, and it's starting to split into numerous small groups. So we've got a number of riders. You can see there a long tail of riders off the back of this pack. And the pack that we are looking at the moment, you can see on the shot, you can see there's a second group there and a third group behind that. So the Category 2 race is absolutely alight within the first 15 minutes of racing today, and within the first 10 minutes of racing we've still got a lone leader. And I'll tell you something, I said they were taking the pace off the front of the pack. Mayer is now 16 seconds down the road.
And that says a lot, doesn't it? It's really interesting. He's gone down there so fast. Now, in through the Silent Dunes sprint go the riders in Category 1. Now, what is going to have happened there? We're going to take a look very shortly indeed, I'm sure. Silent Dunes sprint, an absolutely critical sprint in that it is at the bottom of the descent, and then we have the rise up. Look at the numbers on the screen, look at the names, and then, more importantly, look at the colour of the jerseys on there.
Yeah, it is indeed.
There ain't no yellow.
2, there is no yellow. You are quite correct, Matt. So it is Dont who comes through for the fastest time through that section. 19.3 seconds. Kellison into Mayer in 3. Graves 4. Yeast 5. Spratt 6. Primero 7. Moreno 8. It is packed with Category 2 riders.
It is, and you can see at the moment the Category 1 just coming back together again, but it hasn't lasted long. The man up the road now, it is going to be Montoya. He's got Kaminsky coming up behind him. Here they come together. Just taking a little bit of a look. Who have we got? I suspect there's another rider further up the road, and this is a response to is. Mayer is still up there. You can just see him on the radar on the left of the screen. He's a single dot to the left-hand side, leading this out. The large disc, well, that is the riders we're featuring, and at the moment that's Christian Montoya, who has got Kaminsky for company. Tell you something, Kaminsky is a rider who really has found his feet, and he's really riding strongly in this group. He's a rider who could well be in the mix at the end, but the damage is being done. Look at the radar on the left-hand side as we work our way in round. You can see how much damage has been done to this group, how well split it is. There are riders all the way across that radar screen.
Well, there are indeed riders all the way across that radar screen. This group now, 25 riders chasing in this Category 1 race field.
There are indeed. Do you know why it's a radar screen?
Why?
Because if it was a sonar...
Oh gosh. It would make a noise.
It would indeed. It would make a noise.
Can I just say, for all those people who actually can't see what's going on in the studio, Matt is trying to find a sonar noise to play you over the microphone. So whilst Matt plays with noises on his phone, Orego is the rider pushing on in Category 3. And he's got Ishmael Nogueira for company. Now, those two riders out front here, they are now 10 seconds clear. And they've got a benefit here because they've got 4 Category 4 riders between them and the chasing group.
And this is really interesting, isn't it? The splits. I looked at the course profile, I went, not going to be much happening before we get to the Aquarian climb. How wrong was I? How wrong was I?
In all of the races, you were wrong. Can I just say that again? In all of your predictions for the races, Matthew, you were wrong.
You can tell I got it wrong because I got called Matthew and not Matt. There you go.
Well, while Matt Ferkel's in the corner with his phone.
I'm just sad now. Do you know what? I'm quite glad I was wrong because my prediction was it would be really steady, it would be making its way along there, the riders would be being super smart and very calm, cool and collected. They're not.
Well,
this is really instrumental. We have seen a move by Vidal Mayer being brought back. The group's coming back together. The riders are using the information on the screens. They're using the radar, not sonar, obviously. Using the right-hand side of the screen, looking at the power, looking at the pace, looking at the watts per kilo. They're looking at who's there and the time gaps. They're looking up on the screen, seeing how the riders are. And remember, the riders can change their view as well. Lots of the riders, of course, riding with the coverage as well at the same time. Really, really key. If you are riding with the coverage on a screen beside you, thank you very much for watching. Is worth watching on Twitch TV, because MyWhoosh Live on Twitch TV is uncompressed. It is not downgraded at all. It comes out in full Monty resolution. You get everything on there, so please do watch on there, particularly if you're watching live. It gives you all of the amazing graphics that are on MyWhoosh of all of the worlds that are out there, and all of the information is super clear as well, which is just as important when you're racing, so you get that extra perspective. It's a bit like having a rear view mirror at the same time as being able to see in front, so you can be responsive and race with that information. Really, really key. If you do have that set up, let us know. Tag in MyWhoosh on the pictures. We've seen lots of great pain caves already. Probably going to try and do at some point when we get a second to breathe, a top 10 of pain caves for various different reasons, and that might be the most Spartan, it might be the most bling, it could be the newest, it could be the one with the best view out of the windmill window. We'll let you know at some point when we actually don't look at the riders, we actually start to compile that list, although I have some favourites already.
Well, we're seeing attacks now in this Category 2 race from Carsten Mayer. He's pushing on and stretching that very large group. We've got 4 riders out on the Category 3 race, and Luke Olpott, well, he is a sole leader at the moment in Category 4, and he's still got a long way to go, you know.
Yeah, he has. I mean, this is what is surprising me at the moment. We are so far into the race, like, we're 10k, we're not 30k in, we're not 40k in, this isn't the run for the line. We are seeing a lot of action. Now, sometimes when we see early action, it tails off, doesn't it? It's kind of like there's these early skirmishes whilst people establish themselves, they see the strengths and weaknesses of the opposition, and then we see a change and it eases off. What we're seeing, though, we are seeing consistently Category 2, as you can see on your screens, at the front of the sprints. They're the riders, the group of riders who are overall moving fastest through these segments time and time again. Really, really interesting to see that as they come in and through. So Dont, Spratt, Graves, Mayer, Montoya, Ospina, Smythe and Winfield, the top 8 that are on our screens at the moment. And as you can see, a real variety of nations represented in Category 2. They're moving faster than the riders on your screens. Really interesting. For me, we've got the return of Ross Fawcett this week.
Yeah.
The return of the Ross.
We have indeed. It's great to see him back. He's been on form on the road, isn't he, in the UK?
He has been riding really strongly on the road. And did I see, was it, am I much mistaken that he was actually riding in the Lake District, was it? Was he actually out and riding on some serious big hills?
I think there may have been some pictures on his social media feed about riding around hilly areas of the UK, and also I think I saw him on the water, not on a bike, obviously.
That would be cool. I've always wanted to have a go at that.
You'd have to go to the Malverns Festival in the UK if you want to ride your bike on water.
Yes, if you haven't seen the Malverns Festival, please do. It's one of the original mountain biking festivals, and there is a feature on there where it used to be a lake jump, but the lake is a little bit shallow, let's say, and you can do yourself a permanent injury. So instead of lake jumping, we now have a ride across the lake, designed by yours truly. It was somebody's bright idea to build it as it was. That was me. There you go. It's one of my random things I've contributed to cycling. It's probably not the most the one that will make history, but it's one I'm very proud of, to be honest. It's the lake ride, and it makes it more exciting, more interesting. It was a very random idea, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, somebody at some point thought, oh, it'd be really great to race your bike indoors and ride competition against people all around the world, wherever you are. And guess what? It's worked out. Here we are. We are watching the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's qualifier number 3. It's the last chance saloon for our riders to qualify for the final. There's also prize money at stake across all of our categories. Category 1, our fastest, our most powerful riders. Well, at the moment, They are trying to break the group down. They're trying to stretch out the gaps. They're trying to weaken the opposition as they make their way through. Currently 12.3k underneath the wheels of 45 kilometres.
Yeah, they are indeed, and we're seeing a stretch here. Tim Cutler is the rider on the front at the moment, but the pace, I was about to say, has come off, but Montoya now goes through onto the front, 5.76 watts per kilo. So Montoya is the rider with Mare now pushing on at the front of this pack. Limbon is here, Noren is here. Noren rode well last week. X100, SS, Kaminsky, Safrazad is here. These riders all towards the front of this pack, all enabling the pace to stay high. They're currently just shy of 40 kph as they just roll on to a positive gradient. It's just 2.4, 2.5%, just increasing at the moment. This is a small rolling section, and well, it has strung this Category 1 pack out down the road.
It has, and this really is telling, isn't it? We're on 3.6%. It's not the steepest gradient, and it's only just steeper than the entire average of the Aquarian climb. Yet, what we are finding is that the riders at the moment really are pushing when they can. They're trying to do the damage early, leave a select group later on. They're using all of the 45k. Sometimes you see a race and it rolls along, and it was my thought when I saw the course for this. We're on Yabba Yates. We know that there's a long run in, but it is not working out. We're still seeing big groups because of the type of terrain, but it's not because the riders are not trying to change what is happening. They're making the racing happen, and for me that really is critical. As a rider, as a racer, you want to make the racing happen. You do not want to leave this to the final climb, really, unless you are super confident. Our riders going into the Aquarium climb. First of our categorised climb, Emma, it's a big old group.
Well, it is indeed. This is Category 4, and Luke Allport is 15 seconds, I was going to say down the road, but technically it's up the road because they are indeed on the Aquarium climb. This chasing group has got 24 riders in it.
24?
Yeah.
24 chasers, one rider in front, Luke Allport, and now
12.
They hit the climb. Here we go. Look at this. Kaluma, we know Kaluma can go uphill well. So can Ian Lloyd, though. Lloyd, good to see Ian Lloyd racing once again. Another great rider we've seen in action. However, that is a big group, and I'm not sure you're not going to get that down to one rider at that stage.
No, not at all. And there's a great range of names in that group who all could podium today. Now, talking about who could podium today, we're back in with the Category 1 pack, in with David Darn at the moment. And the pace has really come off this group. You know, a tight group at the moment heading around this roundabout. So Safrazad is in that mix as well. And you can just see that group now having gone around the Heritage Village Sprint, and it's pretty much the same story. It's Category 2 who are putting down the pace today. Vujasin there, the fastest Category 1 rider, coming through in 7th.
If you took a glance across, you'd think you'd skip back on the coverage almost. It's only the fact we actually now have a yellow jersey in there. There's one jersey that there's been a change. It shows you how aggressive Category 2 is. Kaluma, though, is our rider who at the moment is making some serious running. He is bridging across to Luke Allport in Category 4. Don't be fooled by the green skin suit of the sprint leader in the red jersey, Category 4. Slightly confusing, I know. However, the green skin suit is the traditional one of those riders who are out and racing in the sprint competition, as you see on a lot of the major tours. And at the moment, it's Kaluma who has got Allport to within 2 seconds, but almost equidistant behind is the front of the chasing pack.
They've just towed the lot up, haven't they? So Kaluma has towed that group up to Allport, and they are going to take away Allport's lead, I think, at the moment. Look at that long train of red jerseys on that group.
It's the sonar. Like that's sonar. It's not feedback, it's sonar. Do you know what it is? It means I was looking at the radar and I got an alert. It said, look at the radar screen, because if you watch this turn, watch the left-hand side of your screen. It is going to bounce around and come looping round and back through, and that is the damage that's being done. You don't need sonar, you need radar, and we've got it left-hand side of your screen. It is there. It is absolutely key for these riders as they come chasing on. Now, Allport on the front, being caught. Small group behind him, but look at that screen on the left. It's smashed to pieces. They've been depth charged by the attack on the front.
Well, whilst Matt revels in his terminology around his final locating of the sonar sound, took him a while.
I've got a few more to come, don't worry.
Oh, well, and we are in with Allport at the moment on the right-hand side of your screen. He was the lone leader in this Category 4 race for some time, but this climb has pulled the group back. In fact, it was Kaluma who pulled the group back. Dadson and Butt were sat in that group, and they're now coming back through as on the right-hand side of your screen. Well, that's the Category 3 race.
So you can just see the riders in the red. I wanted to ask you, Emma, in the red, we've got Allport on here. He's pushing on.
He is.
On the right of our screens here. Pushing on. And at the moment, he's still keeping that group. Would you do that? Would you keep on going? I don't think I would. I think if I'd have got caught, I'd have sat back in and then gone again. He just keeps the pressure on. Now, one man who we know will always keep the pressure on, Mr. X100, doing an Allport on the front of the Category 1 race. He's going hard here. You can give us the numbers. Is Mr. X100's watts per kilo currently what his maximum, his minimum? Can he do this for a second? What can he do?
So you can see his heart rate is indeed climbing though. This is a big effort at the moment. His heart rate now fluctuating around 152, 154, 151. This is an effort coming out of X100 at 5.5 watts per kilo. His individual heart rate tops just over 160. Heart rate is very specific to the individual. For example, we'll see Michael Knudsen, when he gets to the finish line, sometimes it tops 200, and I've seen 201 from Knudsen at the finish line. Very different in terms of X100. His highest push on his heart rate is in the 160s, so heart rates are indeed individual and hence very difficult to compare with each other. But if you know what the individual rider is capable of and what their maximum is, you can judge what their effort level currently is. So
we as commentators, as a director sportif of esports teams, and of course me as a rider, I would always want to know what my competition and what the riders around and in the race are capable of. The more information you have, the more you can use that to your advantage. There is information overload for some people. I always think it's better to have too much information than too little, because there's nothing worse than riding along not knowing what's happening because you don't know what to do then. Well, you can't make a decision. You just have to just push, which is not always the best tactic.
Personally, racing, I prefer racing against my own numbers than racing against other people's numbers.
Oh, no.
Oh yes.
No.
Yeah, you can't control what other people around you are doing. You can only control what you are doing and what you do in response to them.
You see, you ride with your head, whereas I ride with my heart. If somebody goes down the road, I'm going to go after them. I'm going to go on the attack. And you know what? I might not win a top 5 prize. I might not win anything at all. I'll be lucky to win a packet of Haribo. But you know what I will do? I will have a great race and enjoy it. And that's what we hope all our riders do. And we'd love you to come and join them, whether it's categories 4, 3, 2 or 1. It definitely is very interesting to watch the tactics of our riders as they try and make the racing happen here. And good to see Vidal Mayer and Mr. X100 now on the front. Interesting move there by Mayer, who's gone to the front. He's joined by Mr. X100. Now, they could push on here. If they pushed on, they could find themselves with a gap, and the clan team would be happy with that. Mayer would be happy with that, surely.
Well, you would think so, but I think there would be a number of riders in there who aren't. And you can see Van den Eckhart is pushing on at the moment because he does not want that scenario to actually happen. So Van den Eckhart pushing on, Van Elst is pushing, Cutler is pushing as well. These riders wanting this group to stay together. Admittedly, it's stretched, but they don't want it to break, and they do not want X100 and Mayer down the road as a 2-up time trial riding away from the pack.
I don't, yeah, it's too early. You don't want anybody to go, because if they go, thing is, if you attack in the last kilometre, what are you going to get? You're going to get a few seconds. If you attack on the last climb, you may be going to get a minute. But if you attack what is kilometre 18 of a 45k race, and you're prepared to push, you could get minutes and minutes. You could go a long, long way up the road. You could be a long way up the road before the key climb even starts. And that is the danger, isn't it? You let somebody go, they make that move, and they go off down the road, and they get a gap that cannot be closed down. And you don't get to be a Category 1 rider in this leading group of Category 1 and not be capable
these are
taking a win.
These are world-class esports riders. You know, these are the riders we see year in, year out qualifying for their countries for the World Championships. You know, they are absolutely at the top of their game.
And do you know what I'm really looking forward to is seeing a lot of these names and seeing the action unfold in the UCI racing, in the esports racing. And of course, big congratulations to all of the team behind the scenes who made the racing happen. We've been a very tiny, teeny, weeny, itsy bitsy part of making it happen, but we just get to put words to the action. But you know what? It's great to see the riders out and racing in the race here. Remember, the UCI awarding the contract for the partnership for the esports. That win going to MyWhoosh. And MyWhoosh, the official esports partnership that takes us right the way through to 2026. Having seen the platform develop over the last 2 years, putting words to the action, do you know what? I'm really looking forward to seeing what the platform looks like. I don't want to, wish my life away.
Don't wish anybody's life away.
But my goodness, the progression, the amazing development, the constant development is brilliant to see. And that's just continuing onwards. And it's something that I think we're going to see really explode now. So really looking forward to that. One man who's seen it all unfold is Mr. X100. He is the man who has been here and probably could challenge Phil Graves. Mr. X100 SS were on here when I started commentating on the racing. In fact, when I first started riding the platform, which was even before that, then they were there. Had the pleasure of being dropped by them on a sand dune on the
well, at least
Arabian
you had a
world.
Soft landing.
It was in my pain cave at home in the cellar, actually. That's where it was at that point in time. It doesn't live there anymore.
Well, not living there anymore is these riders, because they are being passed by X100 and SS as that attack goes in that Category 1 race field. And take a look what it's done to the times through that sprint. We may indeed still have those two fast Category 2 riders who I think are on a mission today. But then the screen is alight with yellow jerseys. That's because that Category 1 race, well, it's hotting up. X100 going through there in 28 seconds, 2 seconds back on the Category 2 riders, Kaminsky, Carradine, Thiem, SS and Lindbom. The riders rounding out that top 8.
And it was nice to see a change of colour. Let's be honest. It was too much, way too much green.
It brightened things up, didn't it, a little bit?
It definitely changed the colour palette somewhat.
It did.
There you go. That was the artistic side of me. There's not much artistic side of me, I have to say. Okay, Customer on the move here. 6 watts per kilo. He's got the gap. 15 seconds to Calvin Winfield, Oviedo, Spratt, Primero, and Bjarhead. He's on the attack. Why is he on the attack? Because at 23.9k, he's on the start of the climb. He is on his way up the aquarium climb, Category 2, hitting the lower slopes of the aquarium climb. Why is it called the aquarium climb? I hear you say, well, I can't because I've got headphones on. But if you were, the answer is because guess what? We go underneath the water. We are in the glass tunnels. The sea life will be above us, and we will be watching the riders ascend this climb. It is one of our tough climbs. It can regularly make or break a rider's race. This is where the climbers can show us what they can do before we even hit the final climb of the Yellow Yace. Really key part of the racing. The run into the aquarium itself is a tough one. And you can see at the moment, the riders are having to push really, really hard. We have one rider clear. That is Carsten Mayer. Carsten now approaching the 20 seconds clear marker. Very, very strong ride by Castamet, and he is maintaining a strong pace. What he will want, though, he won't want this group to be towed up. He will want to see a group of maybe 5 or 6 riders, I think, come towards him.
Well, he may well want to see that. Whether he gets his wish is another matter. Spratt is the rider pulling from behind. Simmons is there as well. These riders now sticking out some really big numbers in the chase group behind as the gradient comes up. But if Mayer looks over his shoulder, he's going to struggle to see them with the gap that he's got at the moment. Can he maintain it through this climb, or will they have caught him by the time they get to the top?
He'll need a telescope to see them.
Well, I don't think he will by the time they get to the top at the pace Nicholas Spratt is moving at the moment.
See, it's yo-yoing, and this is the thing, Emma. Spratt's gone up to 6. We've seen people, though, 1.3s, 4s behind him. When the riders get caught back here, watch the pace change. You're seeing it yo-yo. I mean, we've seen people at the front of this group dropping back to 3.5. Mayer is setting a tempo. He's doing what you would do, Emma. Sit on the climb, sit at the tempo and ride up. He's almost faultlessly sitting there and pushing on at way over 5 watts per kilo. He's just sitting there tapping out that rhythm. He's pushing, responding to the terrain. The guys behind are all racing each other. They're doing a mat. They're attacking, they're pushing, and then they're easing off. And they're not going to be able to bring. They have to be smart about trying to bring him back, and that is where it works. Now, category 2, right inside of your screen. Then we're going to leave them on the climb because we're going back to category 1 here. Mr. X100, 6 watts per kilo, again pushing on here. That heart rate had dropped down. It's in the 140s. It's now rising up. We are on an ascent. The key thing to note here is we're not on the Aquarium climb proper. That has not yet started. We have a plateau to go across. It's only a short one, and then we go on the climb. So if you look at the top right-hand side of your screen, you can see that we've just ascended the first ramp to the left of the yellow bar, and we're now going to head on across the flat section and then on to the Aquarium climb proper. And when we hit that rise, straight away the UAE clan team are on the pedals. They're keeping the chain tight and they're keeping everybody honest.
Well, they are indeed. And this leading group in the Category 1 race have already gone past a large group of Category 2 riders on the race today as we drop in with the Category 4 pack. Now, Allport has indeed been brought back. This leading group of Category 4 riders all together. And it's still a large group. 3, 6, 9, 12. I'm counting 12 riders in that group at the moment, with 1 or 2 riders just off the back. So nearly 15 riders still at the front of this Category 4 race. The gradient now just shy of 4%, 31.8 kilometers complete.
So 31.8, they're just into the ascent of the Jebel. Yes, quick reminder for you, do you remember the final climb segment? The section that is timed finishes 500 meters before the summit and the finish of the race today. Now, let's take a look onto the climb proper of the Aquarium climb, the first of our categorized climb. This is a climb of 3.5k. It's an average gradient of 3%, but that 3% is deceptive. Inevitably, we are seeing a move. Tim Cutler, regular attacker, regular aggressor when it comes to the racing. On the front, winding it up, Mr. X100 and Michael Kaminsky. Looks sort of like coming across, looks like Harris also responding to Limbaugh as well. But I'm not sure everybody can hold these wheels here, Emma.
Well, I wouldn't bet on that, Matt, because there are some really good class riders in this race field today, you know, and this for them is just part of everyday race action. So Kaminsky, Noren, Fawcett, Vanden, Eekhout, Mayer, Carradine, Thiem, Van Elst, Knudsen, all strong riders. And this first climb on this race is Category 4 climb. Well, it's 94 meters in total, over 3.3 kilometers, just an average gradient of 3%. And at the moment, you can see well below that at 1.5. So this group coming back together again. And this climb really does that. It has the opportunity to push, but the opportunity to regroup as well.
It does. And just watching the radar, I won't play you the next sonar sound at this point. On the left-hand side of the left-hand screen, you're just seeing one rider just being distanced off the back, at least one rider just being dropped by the group. That second yellow dot just being dropped slightly behind as they go on to the climb. And you can see this group is still pretty cohesive, but they are doing damage. Now, it's probably not as much damage as they want. They probably want to do a little bit more. They want to drop a few more riders, but to do so, they're either going to have to vary the pace or they're going to have to lift the pace, because you're not going to break this just by tapping out a rhythm. So too comfortable. Now, looks to me like the rider just in trouble is Mohammed El Alami. Good to see Mohammed in with us and racing. However, he is now in the position where he needs to do a little bit of regrouping and wait. He's got some strong riders behind. Said Safrasad is behind him, a very strong rider in his own right, and there is a number behind. We always do say, if in doubt, if you do get dropped, it often will pay to recover and wait and jump in with the next group of riders, particularly if you've got downhill or a long flat run in. Once you reach the climb, it's mostly psychological advantage of having a rider to sit with. It's not so much about getting an actual physical bit of help or assistance on the way through.
Well, this is that Category 1 pack well and truly into this climb now. Everybody else is up and over it. The Category 2 pack now on the descent on the other side. This is the last group to go over this Category 4 climb.
Emma, in terms of over the top, so we've had the leaders go over the top in all 3 categories in front of Category 1.
Yes.
Over the top, were they in what would be colour order? So did we see the fastest time being set by Category 2, or then Category 3, Category 4? Did that change?
Category 2, definitely the fastest time
so
over
far
there. But Category 4, racing harder up the climb and faster up the climb than Category 3.
So not quite in what would be the expected order as they came over the top of the climb by the fastest riders in their categories. Really interesting. Okay, well, let's see if Category 1 can set the fastest time over there, be the leaders up at the front. At the moment, you can just see that we have got Cutler, Van Els, Kaminsky, Vujasin, Lindbom, Talbot, all up there. Thema rotating his way through with Harris, with SS. These riders know how to ride this climb. They know how to put the pressure on. An SS at the moment digging deep in the red at 6.5 watts per kilo. Cutler responds. He's had to kick to 8 to go up alongside. So Cutler with the white helmet just going alongside, but up on to the front. Another quick change over. Van Els briefly on the front there in the green skin suit of the sprint leader, but it is moving fast. It's rotating quicker than a washing machine on spin.
Well, it may well be on a rinse cycle at the moment, but SS, Nur and Talbot, Theme are all pushing on at the moment. This entire pack is pushing up this climb. No one wants to get dropped from this leading group.
No, it's so hard, isn't it? You want to be right at the front. It's churning its way around. It's moving its way over the top, and you just can't get it. As soon as you're there, somebody else comes round over the top and then lifts it again. And it's one of these climbs. I think the Aquarian climb for me, if you are on form, it's a great climb. If you are not on form, if you're having a bad day, it's absolute purgatory up to the top.
It may well be, but that is the banner signifying the top of the climb. They are up and over the aquarium climb as one group.
So over the top they go. Let's have a look at the times. It's gone from being green on our leaderboards to being a complete yellow wash. It's like the sun has come out, and the lead by Johan Lindbom. Lindbom, the fastest rider in terms of time up there. Interestingly, not the rider with the highest watts per kilo, all average watts. And that basically means that he's riding smart, he's sheltering, he's using the speed. Remember that Category 1 riders are moving so fast, even on the climbs, there is assistance to be taken by sitting in with the group. Now, Lindbom featuring on our screens at the moment. He's a highlighted rider. That heart rate, 165 beats per minute. We're over 40 minutes of riding in, and we're over 27 kilometers covered of the 45k course. A quick reminder, the Aquarium climb, the first of the categorized climbs, a category 4 climb. We then descend down, and at the 30k marker, we're down in the dip, in the depression. Then we're going to be on to the ascent, the climb itself, the official climb segment starting at 31k and heading that direction. It is the riders on the way up, and it is Carsten Mayer who's been brought back in to this group here in the green jerseys of category 2. The leaders all together after the descent, and they're now making their way into the climb. In fact, here comes that polka dot banner top with the UCI logo.
Well, it is indeed, and it is only going to be a fraction of a second before they hit the Jebel Yais. They have got 14 kilometers to the top, 13 and a half of which is this hot category segment. And that, for me, Matt, is one very large group going into the bottom of that climb together.
I'll tell you something, I won't want to be at the back of that group, because you know that the front's going to pick up the pace. You've got a long way to get from the back to the front of the group. Now, you can use it as a slingshot, but look at this, the gap has opened. In the middle of that group, the gap opened up, the pressure got on the front. If you're at the back, gap opens, you've got to close down, not just riders, but fresh. You've got to cut through that air. You've got to close down to the leading group. That leading group is there for a reason, because it's strong. And Spratt, I think, now has decided to start winding this up. So Nicholas Spratt, teammate of Phil Graves, who's the rider behind him, pushing on here. Reminder, the hitmen is East, Simmons, Graves and Spratt.
Oh, there's three of them in the top 5 at the moment.
4 in the top 8.
4 in the top 8, but 3 seconds currently, 4 seconds currently separating Spratt from 8th at the moment. The stretch is really going on to this group, and the stretch is going right the way down the early slopes of the Jebel Yais.
So let's see who's going to be up there, who's going to be in. This, of course, could be a key indicator for next week's final as well. Don't forget, next week is finals. It's teams time. If you are a rider, if you're watching this during or after the qualifier, make sure you get those teams sorted, whether you're on a team as strong as the UAE clan team of Mr. X100, who we feature here on our screens at the moment, whether you're in a team who's newly put together, then please do make sure you jump on board with your teammates and be in it to win it in terms of that team competition. Category 1, it's a whopping 50,500 AED. That is huge. It is really important, though, that you get those details in, get sorted as soon as you can. So please, guys, make sure you're in there. Don't forget, of course, all the results that we're showing you at the moment are live. They will change over to unofficial when all the riders finish racing. And then, guess what? They will become official when they are verified in that verification process, all part of esports, irrespective of whether you are rowing, whether you're in triathlon, or whether, of course, you're here on MyWhoosh, and that verification process, all part of the checks and the system of making sure that we get some great fair racing and that everybody's following the rules, and we get a really worthy winner at the end.
Yeah, we do indeed, across all 4 categories. Yep. It's not just about what happens in category 1. All 4 categories are on the screen in front of you. We're currently watching an attack at the moment go off that leading group in category 2. They are on the base of that climb. They are working hard. It was a big group that went into the base of the climb in category 2, and a lone rider just trying to push on at the front in category 3. They are further up the slopes. They're at 34.5 kilometers. They are coming up to 10 kilometers to go in this race. 3 riders side by side on the road. Category 4, they're a little further up the road, just less than 10 kilometers to go, and there's still a good sized pack of riders leading that category 4 race out.
So category 4 well up the slopes. Category 1 just going underneath the polka dot banner so they start to ascend the climb. A quick reminder for you that this is a very, very consistent slope. The profile of this hill is one where, because it is so big, it doesn't necessarily illustrate the steps down. Emma, of course, being a professor, bona fide professor, is into the data. So, Emma, as we look at the course profile here, we're focusing on the red section to the right of the screens, or viewer screens. Now, that looks almost straight, but like a lot of data and statistics, it can be deceptive. It's not really one slope, is it?
Well, yes. So 13.5 kilometres inland, an average gradient of 6%. But you can indeed see, if you look very closely, particularly at the early part of this climb, it's not a set gradient. It does indeed roll through. We'll see steeper sections and we'll see sort of flatter sections as well. So it is a little bit deceptive, but it does look like a consistent climb on that map.
It does, and it's all about getting on there at a pace. You can't afford to lose time on here. But if there is a kick, we've seen people like Mr. X100 push a consistent watts per kilo, consistent power out,
yeah, and
as you go up the slope. And is that the antidote to maybe being distanced? Because the bumps are at the lower part. If we look to around the 31k mark, there are more
for me,
raises and dips there.
For me, this is definitely a climb you can come back on if you're dropped. It is so long at 13.5 kilometres, and let's not forget, it doesn't finish then. The other 500 metres is still uphill to the finish line. You know, it is a climb where riders can come back. It can favour an attacking rider, but it can also favour a time trial style rider. So my message to our riders, my message to our viewers, do not discount anybody who has been dropped. They can come back, and we have on this course seen the positions change right before the line.
Well, we're now into the climb. All of our leaders on the climb, the category 1 lead being set at the moment by Mr. X100, who has gone down the road, or should I say gone up the road, because it's only going skywards from here on in. He is now going to see in his rear view mirror, he's going to see on that radar Michael Knudsen, his teammate, trying to bridge across to him. Knudsen and X100 would make a very dangerous pairing up on the front. And when nobody really chased X100, Knudsen decided it was chance to go across. Now the response coming from Tim Cutler behind. His watts per kilo climbing up at 8.5 watts per kilo.
Vujasin is there as well. So is Van Elst.
Experienced rider.
Look at them all lining up behind Talbot. Kaminsky is there. Thiem is there. These are such strong riders, and at the moment this gradient is not too steep. They are in a long line, but they are just following each other at the moment. So X100 leading the charge with Knudsen on, well, I was going to say on his wheel, but he's on Knudsen's. Talbot just bringing the group up, and he's brought up Tim Cutler as well. So Talbot goes up and over the top and continues with the pace. Vujasin is there, so is Kaminsky. Vujasin is worth a mention here, Matt. The sprint between him and Knudsen last week for the finish was absolutely amazing. The 1-2 Knudsen Vujasin, but it was anybody's, either of theirs race right until the tyres were over the line. So Vujasin on real form at the moment. Van Elst is there, Cutler, Noren, Kaminsky, Knudsen, X100, Bjorklund and Harris. They are the two who have been distanced.
And Lionel Vujasin, got to say a big thank you to Lionel Vujasin for getting in touch.
Yes, he
did send a picture. We won't publish it any further of him not looking the happiest person in the world at the end, because he didn't get the win, did he?
No,
I mean, it's not really a spoiler because everybody will see the result. But I tell you something, he is on form. I agree with that 100%. He will want the win. He won't want to wait till the next time we go to the Belgian Bergs and the Meurs to be able to take that. And we've seen him across so many years, so many months, looking really, really strong and being right in the hunt. And I think he's got the platform down. He's got that pedaling. He's got the cadence. He's got the rhythm. He knows the courses inside out. He's done the homework. I think surely now is the time. He needs to step up. He doesn't want to be the Poulidor of MyWhoosh. He doesn't want to be the rider who's always coming in second.
Well, he was indeed third in Qualifier 1, second in Qualifier 2. Now, what are these strange noises coming from your side of the studio today?
Because you don't want to be. Second is first loser.
No, it's not.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
We're not going to have this debate.
There is only one winner in terms of position of the top spot. There is one number one. I'm not sure who it'll be today.
That depends on your parameters.
Oh, spot the statistician sat on the other side of the studio rather than one that makes funny noises.
Well,
right. Okay, come on. Let's get back to this racing here, because I tell you something. This is a select group. Emma, who are you going to put your money on?
Well,
before we get further up this slope, come on. No vacillating. No sitting on the fence, getting splinters. None of that.
You see, I think
who's your money on?
I'm not a betting person, but the safe money, I think, would be Knudsen.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I'm going to go for Pablo Popovic. I know we've both gone for UAE clan teams, but I think they're both proven winners on a big climb.
Well, do you know what? I'm going to change my mind, because I really admire Michael Knudsen and his racing and how he races and how he rides, because he rides with his head as well as his heart and his legs. But today, I'm going for Lionel Vujassin. Come on, Vujassin.
Okay, we will see. But Michael Kaminski's due a win, and Johan
Noren's been riding really well recently.
Do you know what? Maybe we should just take the eraser to all of the prediction. Who we think is going to, who we think and who we want is different. Do you know what? This is what I love about bike racing in all its forms, and cycle sport in all its forms, is that it's never clear cut. You can be the biggest favourite in the world with the best Palmares, and do you know what? You can have a bad day. You can have an incident happen. Anything can happen. Let's see what plays out in our final 10K. The leaders in Category 1 are approaching that. They're 10.5 kilometres from the finish. They've got 10K of climbing as part of this segment, and we have limited numbers left in with a chance of those top 5 prizes, and I would not discount any of these riders from taking the win, but we do have proven winners, and we have riders still waiting for that big payday.
Well, and look at that. So Category 1, not that far off. Category 2, just 1 kilometre further back down the mountain. Category 3 are closer to Category 4, just 500 metres separating the leaders from Category 4 from the leaders from Category 3. But look at the size of the groups. Category 3, still one huge pack going up the Jebel Yais. Category 4, well, that is still a big group as well.
It is indeed. So Category 4, that big group making its way up that slope. Category 3, it's huge as well. What is going to be very interesting is when the riders in Category 3 leading group catch the riders in the Category 4 leading group, because this is going to happen. We've got so long left. They're so close together. We know that is the moment when there is usually carnage. I mean, you know, it's going to explode faster than a depth charge down in the depths. It's going to throw fragments across the sea floor. There's going to be detritus. There's going to be bodies everywhere. Because when those groups come together, that collision, that impact, there you go, another sound effect. There you go, that was an impact there. They're mostly my hand.
They don't actually collide.
It's pretty much
a virtual world.
Don't spoil it for me. I was enjoying that. When they come together, that is when you see the damage. Now, one rider who I think is going to be less affected than most is Luke Albert. He went on the offensive really early. He's not right up at the top of the field at the moment. He's not racing right at the front. He's gone from at the front a little bit further back down again. And I think he went out to have a hit out and to stretch his legs, with the intention, I think, of not necessarily being there at the finish.
Well,
Luke, please do let us know if
he's had a great ride, great race. All
definitely.
I can say is that taking it a little bit steadier up the climb today, but 12th place is not to be sniggered at when we bear in mind, what did we say, 46 riders on the start sheets of Category 4 today. So Alport and Kaluma, the riders towards the back of the field, but Kaluma, he is still in the mix there, because taking a look at that, that's 11 riders in that leading group.
And they back, I mean, there's still a minute and a half, but We are at 38k with Luke Allport as he's going to get caught. And it could be that Luke is going to try and jump in with category 3, because if you aren't getting caught, one of the things that you'll tend to do is ease off, just do a little bit of recovery. Look at his heart rate. It's got to 148 at the moment. He's sitting at 63 revs. Now will be the time we're going to tell. Will he lift that?
Or will he go straight out the back?
I know what I'll be doing. It'd be straight out the back. I'll be brutally honest.
Well, let's be realistic. They're currently at 6% of climbing.
He's doing it. Come on, Luke. Look at that. He's up the pace. His heart rate's gone up.
Oh, he's
trying.
climbing.
Come on, Luke, get in there. So Luke Allport's the rider with the red jersey in this mix of riders in blue. He's jumping in. We're going to come back.
Wow, look at this.
Till then. Talbot on the offensive here. The American goes on the front. He's stretched out a gap now. Can the United States rider go clear? He has got the Australian behind him. That's Tim Cutler. And Mr. X100 is at 8 watts per kilo. Should we say that again? Mr. X100 is at 8 watts per kilo. Doesn't often happen. He uses that big kick sparingly. He's used it to close the gap down. I think the UAE clan team are working as a team once again to try and nullify the attacks coming from the riders from Australia and America.
Well, teamwork is dream work, and that's what we're seeing in front of us with Knudsen, Talbot, X100. Popovic is there as well. These riders continuing their ascent of this mountain. So as the Category 1 pack now start to pick up those Category 2 riders on the slopes at the front of the Category 2 race, it's Spratt and Graves with Carsten Mayer, 3 riders at the front. They're now at 37.3 kilometres into this 45 kilometre race, and they've got 45 seconds on the chase group.
Really interesting. Carsten Mayer, one of the Cycling Parrots team,
well,
is surrounded by the hitmen. He's got he's got a hitman on either side of him. And what we don't want to see is him being a Norwegian blue and, you know, being a deceased parrot.
Well, let's just say that actually what is really good is this is lining up a race for the team competition next week. We did say at the very beginning, or I think I said at the very beginning, I'd really like to see one of the other teams in Category 2 really have a go at the team competition next week, because the Hitmen have indeed been exceptionally dominant. Nothing taken away from the Hitmen, some phenomenal, in fact, all of them, phenomenal riders. But the other teams have got to work out their tactics as how to beat them.
And you've got to get the practice in. And when better to do that than in a qualifier? Put your team in, ride as a team. Sometimes I think some of the teams don't put their team names in to hide their tactics. In amongst the anonymity of not having a team name against them in qualifying. I think there's
controversial.
I think there is some. Well, I'd do that. I'd do that. Come on, if I can get disqualified for having the wrong socks on, I'm sure I could be pushing the limits by trying to hide some team tactics and then bring them out and surprise everybody in the final, and try not to upset the regular teams, people like the Hitmen, the UAE Falcons in Category 2, the UAE clan team, the Belgian Waffles in Category 1. Come along with some different tactics and shake it up, really mix it up, because we do see riders who've been racing regularly, they're really strong riders on the front, but we do see upsets, we do see surprises, we see new riders coming in and changing the race, and that's really key. Now, on the front of the group, David Talbot on the attack, Knudsen, Kaminski, Popovic, Van Elst, Noren, Cutler, all in pursuit at the moment, trying to close down that group leader at the moment. This is a much smaller group than we started though, Emma.
10 riders in this leading group now in this Category 1 race as they come up on the wheel of Cam Winfield, I think I've just seen there.
Yeah.
Peter Volk as well. Winfield, one of the young riders in Category 2, really working. He got caught last week by the Category 1 race, and look at that kick from Winfield. He's going to try and stay on here as long as possible. So Cam Winfield putting in a massive dig to try and stay with the group. Now, well, all I can say is Lionel Vujasic now 30 seconds back. So, you know, Vujasic...
That's your pick gone.
Well, I said don't discount people. Vujasic now just needs to hold his own pace and see in the race ahead.
I think it's so tough though, isn't it? It's so difficult to try and pull the gap back at the front when you've been, you know, line of adjusting, putting such a great ride in, and I think the Belgian course suited him.
I
mean, not
agree.
just because it was home territory.
No, I agree
because
completely.
it was familiar, and because there was some great familiar sides, but because of the type of kick it terrain, the rest, get the timing right, get the pace right. This is such a different beast today with this long mountaintop horse category climb up towards the finish. At the moment, Johan Noren starting to squeeze on those pedals with a really good, strong pace. He's got Knudsen on his wheel. Behind Mr. X100, Stefan Van Els, Pablo Popovic in that group. But the gap has opened here, and Noren and Knudsen could make this a Viking raiding party. The Swede and the Dane at the moment. The Norseman at the front. We did used to have a Norseman team. These two, they are the real McCoy, though. Now, it looks to me like they're going raiding. They're on the way up, and they're on the ascent. The Norsemen might be well known for their raiding in longboats, but at the moment they've got a long enough gap. Can they keep that gap there? It's 6 seconds at the moment.
Noren,
that's a good gap.
Noren was third last time we raced on the Jebel Yace. He knows this climb well. He knows what he can do, and he knows where he needs to attack. He's still some way from the finish line, 6.4 kilometers still to go. Noren and Knudsen side by side, wheel to wheel, pushing on here. Do you know, they've got 6 or 7 seconds now on the rest of this group.
And it's splitting behind. That group is fracturing behind. It is very, very dangerous for anybody who's being left here. Johan Noren will want to take the victory here. Interestingly, they've picked up another Swedish rider. Henrik Oya has jumped onto the wheels. Category 2 rider jumping up on there. Brilliant to see that he's responding here and is able to sit in, and he's going to try and catch a lift up, I think, to the leaders.
Well, and that is dangerous for the 5 Category 2 riders who are up the road, because the danger here is that the Category 1 riders tow up 3 riders from Category 2. Ooh. And, well, the 5 riders up the road, Bjarhead, well, 4 riders, you know, Mayer, Spratt, Graves, are absolutely now not wanting this to happen, and it's happening.
So Spratt, Graves, Mayer up in front, followed by our Category 1 riders, Noren and Knudsen. They have a gap back behind them. In between are green jerseys, out of sight, out of mind. If you are just watching this screen, if you're a rider at the moment and you're looking at this, you're not going to see where the riders behind are, and the riders behind are not going to see you.
You can see where the riders are as a viewer at the moment on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, because that mountain pass is littered with green and yellow jerseys, because this race has absolutely exploded on the Jebel Yace.
That was the explosion sound effect. There you go. Right. No, it was really pathetic explosion sound effect, let's be brutally honest. It's a good job that I don't work in the production team, because they would just be laughing their socks off at my level of sound effects. Mine are usually associated with suffering on a big hill, and that's what's happening. And the people who are handing out the pain at the front of Category 1 are Johan Noren. They are Michael Knudsen. It is 2 riders on the front now. David Tolbert, I think, is the solo chaser behind. I think he has
Popovic is
Popovic is just jumping in with him. This is going to be really interesting now to see what happens in Category 1. The left of your screen, right-hand side of your screen. This is the front of the race on the road. Now, remember, the Category 1 and 2 riders can't see 3 and 4, and Categories 3 and 4 can't see 1 and 2. So they could occupy the same place, but they are in parallel universes. The big difference is, though, look at the distance underneath the wheels for Category 3 and 4 leaders who are rocketing the way up here.
So as Category 3 catch Category 4 leaders on the right-hand side of your screen, the Category 1 leaders are catching the Category 2 leaders on the left-hand side of your screen. The pack at the front of the 3-4 race is now monumentally huge.
It is. It's just, I'm loving it. It's almost like somebody thought, if we set our riders off at 5-minute, 10-minute and 5-minute intervals, they're all going to come into the final few hundred meters together.
And they were right.
They would have been right. Funny that.
I know.
Definitely want me. Don't worry.
Anyway, so now taking a look at the front of this. This is a 3-4 race at the moment. Kochkev, Bogran, Noguera, Castano is there. We've got Agudelo and Gallo, and Kaluma is there as well. Now, Joy Kaluma, Scott Francis has come up as well. So this is a really interesting race in both categories.
It is, and I think we're going to see some serious tactics unfold. We are now well inside the last 5K. We've got 41.3 underneath the wheels of our category 3 leaders. We have 40.3 underneath the wheels of our category 1 and 2 leaders. Phil Graves trying to stay with Noren and Knudsen. The gap back, it's 25 seconds or so back, and that is a big group of category 1 chasers sandwiched in between. You can see that we've got Spratt, Mayer and Bjarhead all now being put in trouble by Graves' association. He's got his hand in the back pocket of the race leaders.
So hard at the moment,
he's got to try and stay on there. So 3 leaders on the left-hand side of your screen. Right-hand side of your screen, Mr. X100 is trying to break clear of Talbot and Co behind. Talbot in the yellow there. The chevron's kicking in as he tries to respond to Mr. X100. And we saw at the start of the climb, Mr. X100 really has pushed throughout. In fact, the duration of this race, he's been working really hard into this. I think we saw a little bit of a period where Mr. X100 was just taking maybe a dip in his season, a rest in his season, taking some active rest, some recovery, taking the time out to then come back stronger again. And that is what we're seeing now, because he at the moment is trying to push people like Stefan Van Elsen, Jonas Bjarhead, David Talbot, Pablo Popovich, Tim Cutler, out and behind, trying to move his way up to maximize the chances of that team prize. But look at this, we're seeing the move. Stefan Van Elst working hard, goes over the top of Mr. X100. So Stefan Van Elst with the white helmet and the yellow jersey alongside the rider with those mirrored glasses there, just looking over his shoulder. That is Mr. X100. They have got company from category 2 riders as well. This is a very interesting move. Can they get back across though to our leaders? I think that's just too big an ask.
Well, is it too big an ask, or is it still possible? You know, the lead of this race currently at 41.1 kilometers. There's still a significant way to go.
It is significant, but I think it's going to go by very, very quickly. So, left-hand side of your screen, Phil Graves in the green, Johan Noren and Michael Knudsen in the yellow. Those are the 3 riders leading the racing category 1 and category 2. They're all together. Behind, the chasers are trying to close the gap down. Now, Talbot is in the mix. So is Spratt. So is Van Elst. So is Mayer. Mr. X100 is not out of this, but they have to close that gap down. It's around about that 20-second marker. It yo-yos up and down as the speeds do the same, but very, very close between them. It's almost like a team pursuit.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because Phil Graves, category 2, is trying to hang on desperately to Noren and Knudsen, and Nicholas Spratt, category 2, desperately trying to hang on to the chasers, Van Elst and Talbot, because they are all together as a group of 3, and the category 2 leader is with a group of 3 with the 2 currently leading category 1 riders.
So categories 1 and 2 are really interesting how that is mixing up. We've got Graves, Knudsen and Noren. You've got the chasers behind. Don't forget, of course, also on the road, we've got categories 3 and category 4, and they are working hard as well. We're still seeing changes, though, here in categories 1 and 2 as these riders continue to push now. Knudsen and Noren at the moment are continuing to work really hard here.
And Graves, I think, is in a little bit of difficulty here now, trying to stay with Knudsen and Noren. He's pushing really high watts, then backing off, pushing really high watts, then backing off. He's got a gap now of 30 seconds on Nicholas Spratt, and what he now needs to start doing is concentrating on winning the category 2 race, because he really does not want to blow by working too hard to stay with Noren and Knudsen, because that is not his race.
He has to show some Yorkshire grit without showing Yorkshire stubbornness. That's what he's got to do. As a
Well,
Yorkshireman, I can say that.
I was
No one
about
else
to
can.
say, you said that, Matt. But so Graves continuing to battle, and he's battling with Noren and Knudsen, not just battling with Spratt. That gap that he's got now out to around 33 seconds. Looking at the clock, they are at 42.3 kilometres.
And it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if he was caught by Nicholas Spratt, because it is his teammate, but equally, he'll still want to take the top spot in there. Now, Stefan van Elst in that green skin suit of the points, the sprint leader. He, at the moment, is really trying to stay on the heels of David Talbot. Talbot in the yellow with the white helmet. These are the two riders trying to close down the leaders. That gap is not insurmountable. It's hovering around about 20 seconds. Graves now distance and just in front. Meanwhile, right-hand side of your screen, you can see that we are with the leaders in Category 3. They have dispatched all of the Category 4 riders, I think, now off the back of that group. Just there's one still there. Who is it? It's Gallo. Yeah. Gallo is set in there, and I'll tell you something else. I think Kaluma is there as well. He's the rider in that green skin suit just on the left of the right-hand screen, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yep, he is indeed. And this leading group in the 3-4 race, now an hour and 27 minutes in.
And just let me just jump a little bit across here. Emma, I think we've got a leader up the front solo. Go on, just double check on that, but I'm not sure that we haven't got one rider clear. Just taking and double check. Oh no, we are. It is one group together.
It is indeed one group. Oh, you had my little heart beating there in my chest. But they've got, 1.6 kilometres to go. Acevedo, I said he'd been on form this month, but take a look at the pack. Kochekev is there, so is Hoyer, so is Noguera. You know, some really, really strong riders here. We've got Kaluma from Category 4 just hanging on to the back of this group, but I'm not sure how much longer those Category 4 riders are going to hang on for, because in the next kilometre and a half, this battle in the Category 3 race has got to play out.
So that is on the right-hand side of your screen. On the left-hand side of your screen, Noren and Knudsen, one duo. They're the leading duo, being chased by Van Elst and Talbot. They are the riders in 3rd and 4th places. The time still hovering around about 20 seconds between Talbot and the riders in front. So the Talbot group of Van Elst and Talbot, that's the duo chasing. They're hovering around about 20 seconds off Knudsen and Noren. It is well and truly a two-man pursuit. 2 versus 2. Who's going to come out on top? We are now heading in towards the last 1,700, now 1,600 meters for these riders. Going to be a very interesting fight to the finish. And I'll tell you something, nobody can afford to relax in categories 1 or 2 because they're going to get caught back. Meanwhile, right-hand side of your screen, this is still all action. Another attack going on the front there as the riders continue to try to respond. Agadello being closed down. It looks like Castano being in the action. Hoyos is there as well. This is going to be a very close finish. They've not separated in the 44 preceding kilometers. They're into the last 1K, and this now is the run up into the last 1,000 meters. They've now 900 meters to go. Category 3 is going to come down to who can dig deep, who's got anything left. There on the right of your screen. Quick reminder, left-hand side of your screen, it is a 2-up pursuit. You have Knudsen and Noren leading. You have the pursuit from Talbot and Van Elst, and I think David Talbot has shed Van Elst, so it is now 2 at the front, and then a 1 and a 1. That is giving the advantage over to Knudsen and Noren, I think, at the moment, but the gaps not defined definitively yet.
Absolutely not, because Talbot is seriously pushing on behind, and Knudsen puts in a big dig, and Noren's got to try and stay with him because Van Elst and Talbot, well, they are digging from behind, and you can see on the bottom left-hand side of that screen on the Category 1 race that the distance is not too far. but Knudsen now kicking for the finish line. He's got 1 kilometre to go. Norrin kicking at 10 watts per kilo because he doesn't want to miss Knudsen's wheel. These two fighting between them. Who's going to take the win here as Knudsen goes again? Norrin is absolutely digging deep to stay with Michael Knudsen at the moment. Talbot now 18 seconds back. Van Elst further back down the road at the moment. This is between Knudsen and Norrin, and this is eyeballs out between these two.
It is, so let's keep our eyes on this, the fastest race category. They'll set the fastest time for the course overall here today. The battle is between Knudsen and Norrin. They're going to come to the top of the climb section, and at the moment Norrin is answering every move that is being made by Knudsen. Right hand side of your screen is going to be a winner today because Juan Sabalos is going to take this. He got clear of Agadello. Your winner, the first rider over the line, is going to be our Category 3 polka dot rider. It's Juan Sabalos, winner of qualifier number 3 in Category 3. Now the chase is on behind. It is Knudsen and Norrin. They're back together again. Knudsen's taken the polka dot jersey as the fastest and the highest point scoring on the climbs, but he's got Norrin. Knudsen's been attacking Norrin. Norrin has answered him. What has that done to the morale of Knudsen? Has he got anything left behind? The gap has well and truly gone pop to the riders. It has opened right out to nearer a minute. It's going to come from these two, and look at the watts per kilo. Knudsen's been up at 9. Norrin went at 10 to answer him. They've come together. This is a run for the line. This is a sprint in. Will it be Norrin? Will it be Knudsen? What Johan Norrin goes, but Knudsen's got over the top. Oh my goodness! On the line, Michael Knudsen takes it from Johan Norrin.
Oh my goodness. Knudsen has just done to Norrin what he did to Vujacin last week. Phenomenal effort by Johan Norrin. Fantastic racing, and kudos to Michael Knudsen for the digging so deep to go past Norrin right on the line.
Well, what a finish up there. Now we're going to take a look at Talbot at the moment. He's the rider who's trying to kick clear here to take away a 3rd place. Right on his heels is Phil Graves. Phil Graves is just going to roll over.
That is not.
Oh no, it's not. It's Van Elst. Stefan Van Elst has done it. He's gone over Talbot. Another 2-up fight, and he's going to come down to Stefan Van Elst. He goes over in the greenskin suit on the points. He's 3rd in the climb up to the finish. Then it's going to be David Talbot, a top 5 for him with 4th place. Next in is going to be Phil Graves. Phil Graves, leader and soon to be a winner in Category 2, makes his way into the line. Just a reward for hanging in on the wheels of the Category 1 leaders for so long. Behind him, Pablo Popovic is going to come in, and through that, I think it's going to be a 5th place in Category 1. It's a 6th for Michael Kaminsky. It's going to be a 7th for Mr. X100. What a ride. Nicholas Spratt is going up there, absolutely feeling it. He's absolutely, the battery's gone flat. There's nothing left in the tank, but his teammates taking the win. The Hitmen are out in force. They have their sights aimed firmly on that team competition next week, and we're going to see if they can make it hit after hit at the top of the tunes that are going to be coming banging out your way next week. Look at that result, though. Knudsen taking top spot.
Yeah, so Michael Knudsen in 1, Johan Norrin in 2, Stefan Van Elst in 3, David Talbot in 4, Pablo Popovic in 5, Michael Kaminsky in 6, and X100 7th in the Category 1 race. Phil Graves taking the win in Category 2 from Nicholas Spratt. What a race in all 4 of those categories.
Fantastic racing. Make sure you catch up with all the results on MyWhoosh.com. You can catch up with the results, so they will be live whilst the race is in progress, then unofficial, then verified. Now, we've seen 2 cracking races this week. It's been absolutely amazing. Please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, to the MyWhoosh live on Twitch TV. Next week, Emma is going to be in the hot seat in the studio. I'm going to be joining live from the UCI BMX World Cup and jumping in to the esports with MyWhoosh. So If you want to catch up with what I'm doing, make sure you give us a follow. I really do appreciate it. We'll follow you back. It is Matt Fix the Pain. Well, you can get in touch with Emma. Emma Martin is on social media at
Biking Emma.
So please do get in touch with Emma and let us both know what you're up to. Make sure that you follow MyWhoosh as well across social media. And of course, don't forget, make sure that you are back next week for our finals in September. The team competition. The battles between our individuals come to a climax at the end of every month on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. I know that the team behind the scenes are absolutely dying to bring you all of the action. We can't wait to put words to that action. We hope that our riders are primed and ready to bring on the action in the racing, and we hope you're going to join us watching it. But for now, I'm going to go lie down in a very dark room after what was an amazing sprint finish there. Thank you for watching. From Emma, from myself and all the team, stay safe. We'll see you again soon.
Goodbye.